if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve Postgame Show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. And for all those joining us, wherever it is you're joining us on the interweb, good evening and welcome to the Illegal Curve Post-Game Show. This is a game, Ezzy, that will not be discussing a fifth straight Jets loss. The Jets arresting their 4-game slide against the lowly Nashville Predators, but a win is a win. And the Jets in the Luke Schenn revenge game, who almost scored a goal, had an assist, drew a penalty. So the Luke Schenn revenge game in Nashville goes the way of the visitors. The Jets in a back-to-back. The Predators obviously also in a back-to-back. But the Jets are the one that come away with a critical 2 points. We put this down on this morning's show as a must-win, but the Jets do in fact win the game 5-2. Defeating the Nashville Predators this Saturday night. And this is, of course, the third IC broadcast. So hopefully folks are not sick of us. Drew is obviously sick of us, so that's why it's just you and I tonight. But we did an Illegal Curve postgame show yesterday after the Carolina game. We did an Illegal Curve hockey show this morning. Actually started about 12 hours ago. And now we are kicking things off with our third show in 24 hours, the Illegal Curve postgame show. So, Ezzy, with that, I will welcome you to the show and ask you, how you doing? How's it been in the last few hours? And what are your initial thoughts on the Jets getting back in the win column?
Yeah, what's up, Dave? I'm doing well, but more importantly, the Jets are doing well. As you mentioned, we called it a can't-lose game. I know in the chat, some people are calling it must-win, can't lose. I don't even know if there's a difference, to be honest with you. But, I mean, they needed to stop the bleeding. As you mentioned, the Jets had lost 4 games in a row. And like you said, they're playing a Nashville team that's just not very good. Like, speaking of, a team that doesn't have an identity, I mean, this Nashville team just, like I realize they make it a 1-goal game there in the third period, but I just don't know, what this team is trying to accomplish out there. Like, they're not making the playoffs this year. Did Steven Stamkos play tonight? I think I remember he had, 1 scoring chance, but, for the most part, and look, Steven Stamkos, Dave, I'm a big fan of his. Like, he's a future Hall of Famer, like first ballot, 100%. Okay. But he's not giving the Predators what they need. Roman Josi, I thought, looked really good tonight.
Yeah, he did. He always does.
Eric Comrie made it. Yeah, and I mean, speaking of Hall of Fame, I'm not sure if he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, but I definitely have time to talk about Roman Josi as a Hall of Famer as well. And Eric Comrie made a good save on Roman Josi in that last minute, right? They found him, they were moving the puck around, and the puck got to Josi, and he had a good scoring chance that Comrie stopped. And, I think we also have to start off by talking about Comrie, because the secondary scoring, Dave, is a huge part here, right? Like, massive, Nino gets the couple goals. Luke Schenn chips in with a couple assists. Dylan Sandberg chips in with 3 assists. I think 9 or 10 different players had a point in this game. So the secondary scoring comes through big for the Jets. Just quickly, I think, Dave, you would agree. I think a big part of the reason why Luke Schenn was in the game tonight was because he played for Nashville. I think they were kind of throwing him a bone.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that.
Right?
Sure.
I think that was a little bit puzzling. Some people saw the lineups, and our boy Mike McIntyre tweeted this out, I think around 3 hours before the game, that it looked like Elias Salamonson was coming out for Luke Schenn. But I just wanted to get that in there, that I think, I'm not saying that's the only reason, but Luke Schenn played I don't know if he played 2 full seasons or parts of 2 seasons in Nashville. Obviously, his family, that was well documented. His family was living in Nashville when he was acquired by the Jets, right, Dave? And then he was traveling back between Winnipeg and Nashville when they had the day off to go visit his family in Nashville. So I'm just saying, I think that was part of the reason why Schenn went in. I thought Logan Stanley and Colin Miller were really good on the third pair, but yeah, the big story here is, even though the Scheifele line gets the ball rolling offensively with the early goal, it was the secondary scoring that the Jets needed, and they got it.
Yeah, I think so. And the chat is having a discussion. I don't think anybody was calling that an impressive win, as I don't think we called it that here. We're just saying it was a necessary win. But the fact of the matter is that you needed to just kind of get away from where you were, which was in that negative state, which is that you're bleeding points. The standings is falling away from you, and you needed to get something going for this team. And you talked about Eric Comrie, and we'll talk about the secondary scoring throughout the course of the Play Now game recap, and we'll have 7 goals to get through. But this was so critical for these guys, and you could see it, right? When Cole Perfetti, seconds before he actually scored a goal, misses, and you're thinking to yourself, and normally on one that he would put into the back of the net, you're like, that's just the way it is right now for him, right? And you get contributions from Nino Niederreiter. Obviously, he scores against his old team. So there's a lot that you, again, even if you don't like the game, the fact of the matter is that hockey is a game where guys can feel good, and that's the most important thing, right? So even if your game structure or your game wasn't the prettiest or whatever you wanted to, however you want to describe it, the fact of the matter is, at least from my perspective, was that you got goals not just from guys named Gabriel Velarde, Mark Scheifele, or Kyle Connor. And I'm going to just read this stat because it's one of the few things I thought Sportsnet did well. As an aside, and I'm going to do a little bit of a rant here. How do you talk about? There's a feature they do before the game on Thomas Milic and his path to the NHL, and you completely gloss over the fact that he was in the ECHL and the AHL. They're like, yeah, and he did this with the Seattle, and then he went to the World Juniors, and now he's in the NHL. I'm like, well, he kind of played in the ECHL, did a lot for Norfolk in the playoffs, and then obviously with the Moose as well for the last couple of years. So I don't know. I thought that was a little bizarre. So I was kind of pilloried Sportsnet for kind of dropping the ball there. And Kevin Bieksa, former Manitoba Moose, you think he would have mentioned it, but he doesn't. But just to talk about the secondary scoring. So here's the graphic from Sportsnet. 311 minutes and 31 seconds between the Jets' goals from a forward not on the top line. That last goal was Adam Lowry, 7:35 into the first period, November 18th versus Columbus. So 11 days ago. And then Nino Niederreiter gets one 1906 in the first period of this game. But that to me is the fact that you needed those guys to get going. Obviously, they avoided anything significant with Vlad Nemesnikov, who got, obviously I'm not saying that Tyson Jost hit him on purpose.
No,
obviously
that was scary. That was scary. Yeah. That Vladislav Nemesnikov had no idea that Tyson Jost was there. And that was scary because he was down for a little bit there. Like at first I didn't realize that there had been a collision, and I wasn't sure if it was, lower body or what had happened. And then you see the replay. Yeah. And, you don't see that all the time, but, we've seen it in years past where guys collide and it always seems like one guy goes down, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's like, obviously sometimes two guys collide and they both go down, but it seems like more often than not, it's one guy that takes the brunt of it. Right, Dave?
Yeah.
So it was nice to see Nemesnikov back. And I thought that line was better with Taves up the middle. And, I'm sure, Dave, what we're going to see throughout the course of this season, I mean, I could be wrong, but I think what we're going to see is we're going to see Taves at center, and then we're going to see Taves move to the wing, and then we're going to see Nemesnikov up the middle, and we're going to see him move to the wing. But at the end of the day, Perfetti, who you could clearly see was frustrated, he had a couple chances earlier in the game, but he gets the goal and obviously has the huge celebration. I'm being sarcastic, obviously, because we know Cole Perfetti, his celebration is the no celebration celebration.
Yeah.
But you love to see or at least I can only speak for myself, but I love seeing Perfetti get that goal because he's obviously not had the start, that he's wanted after coming back from the injury, right, Dave? So like there's a lot, even though this wasn't what you would say is an impressive or a dominant win or anything like that.
Yeah,
I mean, I think there's stuff that you can build on. You can build on the fact that you got some goals from your second and third lines. You like I thought the fourth line looked better. Morgan Barron with Gus Nyquist and Tanner Pearson. I thought they were more noticeable tonight. Barron was moving his feet like he does all the time out there and out on the penalty kill, and they didn't get a goal, but I thought that line looked better. So Scott Arniel continues to tinker the lines, and it obviously worked tonight. And yes, Nashville is the worst team in the league.
But they have won 2 games in a row.
But they had won 2 games in a row, and there is no easy wins for the Jets at this point. So I like the fact that, they kept the foot on the gas in the third period. They didn't let Nashville tie it up, got the empty netter. So again, you've got Buffalo coming up. Buffalo's not a great team, but the Jets aren't a great team right now. So hopefully they're going to be able to they're going to build off of what they did tonight in Nashville.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and it'll be, to me, what I find curious, and we'll find out, I guess, tomorrow. I think the team is off. Well, they'll be off tomorrow because they played back to back, so they'll use tomorrow as an off day. And then is the game Monday against Buffalo, Eddie?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So then the curious thing to me is whether Neil Pionk will play, because of course, they didn't really skate. They may have had an optional today, but we don't know if he's skated. I would imagine he would have skated on his own.
We wouldn't find out until shortly before the game Monday, right? Like game day skate.
Yeah. Of course. Yes. So the question is, will Neil Pionk go back in? If he does, who's going to come back out? I mean, I would imagine that Luke Shen comes out, but I could be wrong. Is Elias Salamonson going to be sent back down? So those
it'll be Shen. If Pionk's ready to go, it'll be
Shen.
Right?
Yeah.
I think it'd be surprising if it wasn't.
No, I agree. I mean, because even though, again, like I agree, I tend to agree with you. I think it's more you put him into the lineup because it's against his former team, but he had some plays on that ended up in the positive with the Jets, but it's still not this. There's still some warts to his game, as we saw with the play behind the net where he kind of paused and then it resulted in one of the Predators' goals. So
and I thought Colin Miller was pretty solid too. Like and it wasn't the reasons necessarily that you think. Colin Miller was good, right? Like it wasn't that we saw, like he was out there on the second power play, obviously, right, Dave? But it wasn't that we were seeing the big shot. I just thought he was moving the puck and he was using his legs more, and you could see that he was
playing physically a little bit.
Yeah, and Miller, I think right now you would say has the edge over Luke Shen. But going back to the conversation we had on this morning show, does when Neil Pionk is healthy, does Elias Salamonson get a little bit more runway? I would like to see it. I will be honest, Dave. Mm-hmm. I, have listened to you over the last couple of years about Elias Salamonson. I obviously have not watched him as much as you have, but I saw enough in 2 games that I'd like to see more. And again, I'm not saying that, Salamonson should play the entire season with the Jets. I'm just saying, again, we'll get into the play now game recap eventually here, Dave. But all I'm going to say about Elias Salamonson is I saw enough in 2 games that I think he deserves maybe at least another couple games, 3 games, 4 games, and then you see what you've got. But having said that, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets sent down once Pionk is back.
Yeah, and the interesting thing to me is I understand why you want Shen in the lineup against his old team, but it's interesting because talk about better teams for him to play against. Nashville, right. Buffalo. I mean, those are the teams that you want to give the kid a little confidence against. I mean, you're putting him in a much more difficult position against Washington and Carolina, which is how he came in. But at the end of the day, that's part of the NHL, right? Is that you got to sink or swim. But the Jets, they're swimming right now because they've put the 4-game losing streak behind them, and they are able to.
Are the boys going to go to Tootsie's tonight?
I don't know where let's see. Where would they go if on a Saturday night in Nashville? I mean, I don't even know. Let's check the schedule, Ezzy. We can check what.
Well, we were there, Dave. We were on Broadway, so we partied in
6
Nashville.
years ago. We were there. That's a good point.
I highly recommend for anybody out there that's watching or listening on the pod, if you've never been to Nashville, and there are direct flights from Winnipeg to Nashville now.
Nash Vegas, call it right.
Go. I think we were told in Nashville they don't like calling it Nash Vegas.
They hate that.
But if you go to Nashville, or if you have a chance, go to Nashville. Nashville's a great city, great music, great people. Lots of universities, and it's all around just a great vibe in that town.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, although not a very well attended game, I would say on this Saturday night there were a lot of empty seats.
Empty seats. Yeah, surprising at it's still called the Bridgestone Center, right?
I believe it's still called Bridgestone Arena. So it is definitely. I was surprised watching the game tonight because there were a lot of empty seats, and then.
Well, and can you blame anybody? I mean, there's not a lot of we teased it a little bit. Me and you are going to be talking to Hal Gill, who's the Nashville Predators color analyst. We've had him on many times over the years
Yeah.
on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, especially back in the radio days. And, it's going to be interesting to talk to him because, you look at this team and, are they sellers? Do they start moving guys before the trade deadline? Like, I have no idea, but they're already so far back that there's virtually no chance that they're going to be making the playoffs this year.
No, and again, for all the doom and gloom about Winnipeg and blah, 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 the reality is with today's win, the Jets are 1 point back of Utah and Seattle for the final playoff with the wild card spots in the Western Conference. So that's kind of what we were talking about on this morning's show, right? As is that while it doesn't seem very, like there's not a lot of joy in Joyland, having lost 4 straight, the fact of the matter is you get the win. You've got games in hand on both the Sharks and the Oilers, who are 1 point ahead of you, tied with Utah for that final spot. Utah's lost their last 2. Seattle's lost their last 2. So, like I said, Minnesota keeps winning. Colorado keeps winning. It's unbelievable. And the Dallas Stars
you mean
winning.
Scott Wedgwood keeps winning, Dave?
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say the entirety of that team right now. I mean, they and again, I know we're going to talk about the Jets and the Predators, but if folks were watching the Colorado-Montreal game tonight or saw some highlights or something, I mean, using those Quebec Nordiques jerseys is just it's so unbelievable. It looks so good.
Oh, it's incredible. I don't know if there's a realistic chance of this ever happening, but I still hope Quebec City gets a team back. Like, I know, you hear Atlanta, you hear Houston, you even hear Phoenix getting an NHL team back, right, Dave?
For sure.
So I don't know if it's realistic. By the way, I am wearing a Montreal Expos.
That's good timing.
So Montreal right here, but love the Expos. And speaking of teams that I wish could come back, but you're absolutely right, Dave. Those jerseys look fire. Yeah.
Wow. Look at you. But it looked awesome, and it looked awesome, and yet, speaking as someone who grew up with the Jets leaving, could you imagine if we were watching a game and the Coyotes are wearing Jets uniforms right now? Like, it's like a dagger in the heart. So I suspect, while we might enjoy the nostalgia of it all, I don't imagine that many folks in Quebec City were too pleased about they were not saying c'est bon, because it was even though they're beautiful jerseys, it was and Quebec destroyed Montreal. What was the final score?
But don't you think people still, like, in Quebec, like just your average Quebec City sports fan, you don't think they like seeing the jerseys being used? I don't know. I think it brings back, like, bad memories from the team moving to Colorado, but aren't you still happy that the logo and the jersey live on? I'm not sure. We'd have to get some folks on from Quebec City, and we might need to. I might need to practice my broken French, but
I'll bring my mom, retired French teacher. She can translate for us. But I got to tell you personally, for my own, speaking on behalf of myself, I can't imagine watching, if you were, again, a Jets fan growing up in the 80s and 90s, and you saw folks in Phoenix this time around wearing Heritage Classic jerseys because the Jets didn't come back. I just don't think folks would like it. So I could be wrong. I could be very wrong, but maybe we'll get the chat. Stonewall Dave says, I would hate it. So I want folks to answer from a Winnipeg perspective, because obviously we can't speak as Quebecers, but we can speak from Winnipeg.
I don't know if you've been noticing, Dave, but in the chat right now, there's an ongoing dialogue about Laurent Brossoit and if the Jets would bring him back, because of course during the second intermission, Elliot Friedman mentioned that that Laurent Brossoit's representation and the team are exploring a trade option for him, because Brossoit hasn't played in the last 2 years. But I wouldn't hold your breath, Jets fans. I don't think Laurent Brossoit is going to be coming back here.
The most curious thing I found about that is, and we're getting away from, we'll get into the game recap soon enough, folks, but you all watched the game, so we'll get there eventually. But the thing that I found the most curious about it was that Chicago granted permission for Brossoit's agent. Like, when did this become a thing?
It's a good question. I thought about that with the Brad Lambert.
No, so did I. That's what kind of initially you kind of read that and you're like, okay, that's interesting.
It's unorthodox for it to come out like that.
Or is it though? Is this the new norm that teams are just basically abdicating responsibility? Because again, it's not, like in this situation, Chicago has 2 goaltenders that they're running with right now. And so they're good. And Laurent Brossoit is, I know he was doing a rehab stint with Rockford, but if you're looking at it, you're thinking to yourself, like, I just think it's very, and we can, the chat can weigh in on this, But when I saw the language used, like has allowed his representation to seek out trades, I thought, when did this become a thing in the NHL?
Isn't Dave a player's agent? Like, I forget who Brad Lambert's agent is. I don't know if you know. I think you could probably easily like look it up via Google, but regardless, Brad Lambert's agent trying to find a trading partner, isn't he essentially doing Chevy's job?
Yeah, Rick Curran of the Org Group.
Yeah, so like Rick Curran, who's Brad Lambert's agent, and we already talked about it, for those who didn't listen to the Saturday morning show, Dave had my Dave is who we're talking about here of Illegal Curve, talked to Brad Lambert, and Brad Lambert said, no, absolutely, he wants to be in Winnipeg. But just this
with
idea
the Jets.
with the Jets.
He wants to play for the Jets.
Yes. But this idea that the agent is looking for a trade is kind of a new thing, because usually you hear that teams are looking for a trading partner, not agents looking for a trading partner. So I agree with you, Dave. It could be the new norm. Who knows?
Yeah, I just thought, like, again, we obviously, as you said, Ezzy, we knew about it based on what we heard about Lambert previously from Frank, and then I just thought it was interesting language that Elliott used with respect to Laurent Brossoit, and maybe we'll see Laurent Brossoit return to Edmonton, which is where he, of course, played before he played in Winnipeg, and maybe he'll join the Oilers and try and he's not from he's from BC.
BC. Yeah, he's a BC guy, isn't he?
But yeah, I think he's from the island.
Regardless of here, I'll quickly look it up here. He's from Port Alberni, BC.
Yeah,
which I think is on Vancouver Island, right?
Yeah.
I haven't been there in a while. I think I was 12 when I was last on Vancouver Island. We stayed in, my dad, my sister, and I stayed a really beautiful place, Souk.
The Souk.
I've been to the Souk. Have you been there?
I've been to the Souk. I was just there a couple of years ago.
Beautiful. What a we have a lot of beautiful places in our country to live, including Winnipeg, but Vancouver Island, that's pretty special out there. But I wanted to just say one more thing on Laurent Brossoit. Regardless of where he goes, Dave, it's going to be a pretty amazing story once he plays that first game back, because I can't imagine what he's gone through with because it hasn't just been one injury, right? It's been multiple injuries, I believe, that he's been experiencing. And you forget that last year he was the backup to Connor Hellebuck. His numbers were incredible.
For sure.
He had great numbers as a backup.
Not good enough to get on the William Jennings Trophy.
That's true. But
games.
I do think, what is Brossoit, 32, 33 years old? I still think he has, a few years left in the NHL. So all the best to him for sure.
Yeah, it's tough. But anyways, hey, this isn't the Laurent Brossoit show, but we did, Ezzy, the chat said you went boring. Sean Monahan says nobody can go on a tangent like Ezzy. But in this regard, I would say that the chat was engaging Ezzy in a dialogue, and Ezzy engaged the chat. So he acquiesced to what the people wanted. So he's just showing everyone that he is, in fact, Ezzy.
I am the chat. The chat is me.
I was going to say Ezra Ginsburg, man of the people, but I guess you're also the chat. Whatever you are, the chat, and the chat is you. That's a beautiful thing as well. Well, let's get into it, because we do have quite a few goals, and we've already been chit-chatting for a bit. So let's get into the Play Now game recap.
The Play Now game recap.
Bet with Play Now, the official betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets. Sign up and get up to $250 in bonus bets. Conditions apply. 18 plus. Enjoy responsibly. Well, Ezzy, the Jets did something they haven't done in a while. They got off to a good start in this hockey game. They started to fire shots on net and control the puck. And one of the things, and obviously they scored 47 seconds in, and we'll get into the Gabriel Velarde goal, but the Jets needed that positivity. They needed that good feeling, and they needed it early in the game, because as we discussed just yesterday in Carolina, they were outshot 6-0, didn't have a shot through at least the first 8 minutes. We know that Carolina likes to possess the puck, but the Jets needed to get some good feelings, and they do. Just 47 seconds in, Gabriel Velarde, by the way, where did he come up with 12 goals on the season? And he deposits the Mark Scheifele shot. But this is a play that starts at the Jets end. Dylan Sandberg, nice little dish up, and then he gets it over to Scheifele, who gets it over to Velarde, and he deposits his rebound. But really good start for the Winnipeg Jets in Nashville.
Yeah, and you mentioned Dylan Sandberg. He kind of makes a nifty little backhand it's Ryan O'Reilly and I had the replay up, but I know it's Ryan O'Reilly. There's two Predators forechecking Sandberg, and he kind of backhands the puck a little bit and goes through them. And like you said, moves the puck nicely up to Gabe Vilardi. And Gabe Vilardi makes a nice little drop pass to Mark Scheifele, and then follows it up and goes to the net once Scheifele puts it on net, because Scheifele was clearly putting the puck on the net for the rebound, right? Like he was not shooting to score there, as they say, but just a nice connected play and a nice start. Because like we talked about, the Jets had given up the first goal 4 straight games. They needed this. Like when you write it up and you talk about it in the dressing room, that's exactly what they wanted. And that was huge for them. But yeah, really nice play. I really like Sandberg's game, and I realize, some people have been criticizing Sandberg a little bit. And look, like he's missed some time. So I don't care what anybody says. It takes guys a little bit of time to get back to their true self, or their optimal self, if you will, right? So I really like how Sandberg starts it off in his own zone, just eluding a few forecheckers, and then it's just a nice give and go play between Vilardi and, I almost called him Vivaldi. Remember the Italian composer? Yeah. I just know that because my dad was big into classical music. I almost called him Gabriel Vivaldi. Maybe there's some classical music fans in the chat, Dave. Let us hear about it. Let us hear if you're into Vivaldi or Sebastian Bach or Beethoven or whoever, Chopin. I actually did do a couple years of piano lessons. I'm just letting people into a little. Listen,
Twinkle Toes. Let's keep this show going.
Speaking of going on tangents, Dave,
yeah, I
did take 2 years of piano with, and you'll love this name. My piano teacher's name was Puddy Cunningham, Puddy. She was a lovely lady who lived on Waverly Street in River Heights, and I took my piano lessons, and then I gave it up because I was kind of more into WWF at that time, and I wanted to focus on, the Ultimate
Your wrestling
Warrior.
career.
Exactly. But yeah, beautiful opening goal for the Winnipeg Jets by Gabe Vilardi.
And just so you know, that was Stamkos on the forecheck. Yeah. That was Stamkos with O'Reilly, and it's exactly what the Jets needed. And so you wanted to see what they were going to do, and for the most part, it was kind of the Jets were controlling play early in that first period. Now they did get. They did take a penalty or two, and so they were, of course, they did have the power play. Nothing really doing on the power play. I was kind of surprised. Inez, I mean, again, this is the 6th-ranked power play, and I believe that Nashville's PK, I want to say, is like 20. Their power play is about 16th overall, and I want to say that their PK is about 26th, I think. I think I have it somewhere in the pregame report. Yeah, they are the penalty kill is 23rd. No, 16th, sorry. So a little bit, you weren't sure, but they were really able to nullify the Jets' ability on the power play. I mean, Harner Ryan said it on the broadcast. The Jets didn't have a shot on their first 2 power plays. And the thing I didn't like about that, I know that the second power play unit hemmed Nashville in a lot and created a lot, but staying on for a minute 30, I just think is a waste. I think you're killing too much. Your energy should be 45 seconds to a minute, and that's it, and get off. And don't get me wrong, both units can be guilty of that, and especially when you have possession of the puck, it is hard to kind of, motivate yourself to come off. But Colin Miller, he gets that roughing with Ozzy Weisblatt, and then of course that was coincidental. Logan Stanley and Michael McCarron. You want to talk about a big boy fight? 6'7" versus 6'6".
I also love the fact that these guys have fought 3 times now. Like you don't see a lot of repeat fights anymore because fighting is down across the league. Right?
Yeah, of course.
It reminds you of like back in the day when Domi and Probert used to fight, or like
every second minute.
Crowder and Bob Probert, or like Marty McSorley and those types of guys. Like they would fight 3 or 4 times a year, right, Dave?
Yeah.
That was a big fight. That was over 13 feet of fight right there.
Exactly. So with the time winding down in that first period, Jets up 1-0 until, as I mentioned in the preamble, lo and behold, what do they get? A little bit of secondary scoring. It is 2 former Predators on this play hooking up to get the Jets on the board. Luke Shen takes a pass from Dylan Sandberg, fires it across the ice. Nice pass to Nino Niederreiter, who takes it in stride, and he snaps this shot home. Kind of surprised everyone, I think, to be honest with you. I think Annan, too, was a little surprised it beat him, but he was left looking over his shoulder, and the Jets were looking at a 2-0 lead heading into the first intermission.
Yeah, I mean, Nino needed this one. He was one of the guys we talked about, Dave, along with Gus Nyquist and Jonathan Taves and Nemesnikov and a few other guys. Like Niederreiter needed this. And I really like, first off, again, Dylan Sandberg, he picks up an assist on this one. And Luke Shen makes a really nice pass to Nino Niederreiter, who's on the left wing there. And what I like most about this one is Nino Niederreiter. It's a nice shot, but what he does a really nice job. I think it was Stamkos again who he went around. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. I got the replay up here. It was Stamkos who we talked about didn't have a great game tonight, and he holds onto the puck a little bit and keeps it outside so Stamkos can't get at it. And then I just love the fact that he puts the puck on net here, and it's a nice shot. Like, it's a well placed shot, and it's not an easy save to make, right? We've talked about over the years, Connor Hellebuyck, kind of the book on him is, if there is a weakness, it's his blocker side, right, Dave? We've talked about that before. And I agree. Like that one, I think Annunen and most goalies, like, they hate to give up goals like that. But Niederreiter coming down the left side, left shot. It's a nice shot. And the Jets needed that because now they're going in to the first intermission with the 2-goal lead. So that's huge. It gives you little insurance that you needed. And puts the game, didn't necessarily put the game out of reach, but it just gave them an extra goal lead to give them a little breathing room in that second period.
And we obviously don't talk about plus minus very much, but it was rather ironic that Dylan Sandberg on both those goals, so in both of them he draws assists, and yet because he happened to be off the ice when the goals were scored, he doesn't get a +1 on those. So and Luke Shen the same also, by the way. Luke Shen had also, after he made the pass to Nino, changed. So neither guy gets a plus, which is, again, just kind of funny how it works. But so I think Sandberg was even through the first period, even though he had 2 assists. So fun little trivia, if you will. Okay, so second period comes along. Vlad Nemesnikov, we already mentioned. He gets walloped. Inadvertently, no intentionality, of course, with the hit in the neutral zone, but he looked dazed and confused. He did not look like he was doing very well. He did come back in and play in the game. So, I mean, obviously pulled to the room for the concussion spotter. But so when Nemesnikov down, the Jets, I don't know exactly when, it was maybe seconds before the Jets made it a 3-0 game. But Cole Perfetti, I mean, it was funny because I watched the clip and he has this chance to bury the puck into the back of the net, and he puts it right into Annunen and doesn't score because he doesn't get all of the puck. And you think to yourself, well, it's just the way it's going for Cole Perfetti right now. He just doesn't have like the puck luck. It's not going for him, right? And then seconds later, what happens? Cole Perfetti in front of the net, has some time and space, takes the pass from the aforementioned Vlad Nemesnikov. Jonathan Taves does make a nice play here to get the puck to Nemesnikov, who finds Perfetti, and Perfetti has his second goal of the season to make it a 3-0 game.
Yeah, it's a nice kind of one-handed kind of pool play by Jonathan Taves to get the puck to Nemesnikov. But what I wanted to also point out too here is right before the puck comes to Taves, Perfetti does a nice job getting it to him in the corner and takes a hit from Nick Hague. Yeah, and he takes a hit, and Nick Hague is a big boy. Like, what is he, Dave? 6'3", 6'4", something like that.
I would even say 6'4", 6'5".
Yeah, and I'm not going to get into the heights because people were giving me a hard time when I was saying that Josh Morrissey's not actually 6 feet. But we're not going to
go there again.
We're not going to go there again. But yeah, I just wanted to say that I liked how Perfetti took that hit from Hague, who's much bigger than him. Got the puck to Taves, and then Taves poked it to Nemesnikov behind the net, and then just falls it up, goes right to where all coaches tell you to go to the front of the net, and Nemesnikov finds him. And like you said, Dave, what a turnaround. Looked like maybe Nemesnikov was possibly going to be leaving the game, maybe to go into concussion protocol. Yeah. And then he comes out and he gets an assist, and he needed that, right? Because he was pointless in his last 11 games, or I forget if he was pointless in his last 11 or goalless in his last 11. But the reality is Nemesnikov has not been putting the puck in the net. And he leads, he gets the primary assist on Perfetti's goal. So that's exactly what you want to see. Not only for that line, but now the Jets are up 3-0, and now, as far as I was concerned, at least, now the game's out of reach, because I didn't have any confidence that the Predators were to come back and score 4.
Well, they weren't going to come back and score 4, because you can't score 4 in one shift, but you can get 1. And Nick Blankenburg on the power play, he launches a slap shot from the point, finds its way through. I mean, I'm not trying to pick on Dylan DeMello, but we talked about this yesterday against Carolina. If you don't block the shot, you got to get out of the way, because all you're doing is providing a screen for the opposing team against your goaltender. And that's, in my mind, exactly what happens here. So Comrie gets screened by DeMello. It's a nice shot by Blankenburg, but it's just a unfortunate play because, again, the Jets' PK has been very good. And I understand why they're packing the house, but it's just unfortunate. And you can see Comrie doesn't want to look at DeMello, but he knows you're taking away my eyes and you're not blocking the shot. So he jumps out of the way, and it's a 3-1 game, power play goal with just under 3 minutes to go in that second period.
Yeah, and Logan Stanley, he took the hooking penalty on Philip Forsberg, and it didn't take the Predators long. What was it, 25 seconds, 30 seconds into the power play, if I remember correctly. And when I first looked at it, Blankenburg's got a good shot, obviously. That's why he's playing the point on the power play. But when that goal was first scored, I immediately thought, okay, did he not see that? Was he screened? Did it go off somebody? And it was Samberg and DeMello, like you mentioned. But yeah, it's DeMello who I think is directly screening Comrie. And I'm not sure, Dave, it's really hard to see if the puck goes off of DeMello. But regardless, his positioning did enough that Comrie didn't get a good look at it. And obviously, now Nashville's got some life.
Well, and that's just it. So now suddenly it's a 3-1 game, but you still feel good and you get through the rest of that period. Now you're going to the second intermission, and you're you got to lock this down, because while Nashville isn't a particularly good team, again, the Jets haven't been a particularly good team, and you can ill afford, even if you were to win this game and that game went to overtime, to have had a 3-0 lead and to have not been able to lock it down would have been a pretty damning statement against the Winnipeg Jets. And it starts to get a little dicey when Luke Evangelista, 2:45 into that third period, takes the Eric Holla at your boy, Ezzy, and Roman Josi. They draw the assists, and he puts this backhand shot past Eric Comrie. And this is a play, in my mind, where Luke Schenn kind of gets that pause behind the net, and that is enough time to give Evangelista the time he needs to get around and put it up over Eric Comrie's shoulder.
Yeah, it was Schenn and Schenn and Miller who were out there, right? I believe. And no, was it Schenn and Miller? Yeah, it was Schenn and Miller out there. I'm just got the replay up here, and it was the Lowry line.
It was Schenn and Samberg.
Sorry, Schenn and Samberg.
Yeah,
and it was the Lowry line who was there, and they were at the end of the shift. I thought on this shift the Predators were moving the puck pretty well, and the Jets were kind of they were slow. And you're absolutely right. I mean, Evangelista is there and misses the puck, and he's behind the net. He's out of position, and it's just it's a clever play by Evangelista, right? On the broadcast, they were saying, Comrie probably wishes he didn't go down, and he does go down, and Evangelista roofs it, right?
Yeah.
So it was kind of a combination of just Luke Schenn not being in the proper position, and then maybe Comrie goes down a little bit, and Evangelista roofs it. Like you said, I mean, it was, the Predators fought their way back and made it a 1-goal game, but thankfully, the Jets, as we know, got the all-important go-ahead goal. Pardon me, I should say the insurance goal, not the go-ahead goal.
Yep.
It was already 3-2. But
yep.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought that was a little lackadaisical, I would say, maybe by the Jets on that play, and it was just it was kind of like nothing. Like, even though the Predators were moving the puck well and they had some pressure in the Jet zone, I just thought that the Jets were a little flat-footed, and then, like you said, Schenn was just out of position there. I don't know how else to say it.
No, I think it's a fair assessment, and I think that's Luke Schenn taketh away, But then Luke Shen giveth, as he's giveth,
Yes.
because Luke Shen, 6 minutes and about 15 seconds later or something to that effect, as he, a very strange sort of play. I don't know how you saw it, because it took me about 10 minutes to figure out how Kyle Connor actually got this puck, because again, good work by the top line. And that's, I mean, we've said that enough times, but really nice, like no look pass by Kyle Connor. But it also shows you how good Kyle Connor is, because like he's so economical in his movement. Like he makes that shovel pass towards the net when he sees the puck kind of deflect onto his stick, and he makes it look like it's nothing and effortless, and it's in the back of the net before you even know what's going on. Jets have a 4-2 lead. They have the insurance goal, and Kyle Connor, again, Kyle Connor having 12 goals isn't a shock. Gabriel Velarde being at 12 goals and being tied with Connor is kind of the bigger surprise for me. But a real nice play by Kyle Connor to kind of show off his hands and get that puck into the back of the net. Velarde has 11 goals. They said 12. They said 12 on the broadcast, but it was 11 goals for Velarde. So Connor, with his 12th, goes one ahead of him. But it's an important goal, and it gives the Jets a little bit of breathing room.
Yeah, and the thing is, this like, you know, there's a scrum in the corner, so that it's not like this was kind of a little bit of a broken play, but you know, the Luke Shen does a good job of getting the shot through, and then obviously Kyle Connor buries it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the response that the Jets needed, right? Like they needed to make sure like that they got that insurance goal, and they weren't going to let the Predators tie this game up. And you're absolutely right. I mean, just another example of Kyle Connor's silky mitts. And, you know, just again, like nice to see Luke Shen, a guy, let's be honest, he hasn't had a good season this year, and picks up 2 assists in his against his former team. So you'd love to see that. And you love to see that after Shen, you know, gets burned a little bit on the Evangelista goal, he makes, you know, you love to see that. You love to see guys, you know, redeem themselves. At least I do in hockey games.
Yeah.
You know, so good for Shen. You know, now he can feel good about himself. And even if he ends up being the odd man out when Pionk comes back, Dave, at least, you know, there's elements of his game that you're starting to like, because there hasn't been a lot to like about his game lately.
Well, and then seconds later, he draws a power play. He gets tripped up.
Yep.
Gary Galley didn't feel that it was an honest tripping. He said, he went down a little easy, given the fact that and first of all, Gary Galley, who are we to start saying how much guys weigh? I mean, that was a little bit forward and a little presumptuous of Gary Galley to say exactly how much.
Gary, are you going to tell us how much you weigh?
Yeah, like give us a little insight there, Gary. But anyways, ultimately, Luke Shen goes down. Jets draws a power play, and Cole Perfetti, by the way, probably had 3, and even if you're not scoring, we have to say that being in front of the net, being in tight, it's one of the things we talked about. And I was listening to the CJOB broadcast yesterday or today or whatever. I was listening to I was listening to Paul and Mitch before the game today, and they were saying that, Perfetti had 7 shots on net yesterday, or he directed 7 shots on net. I don't know if he took 7 shots, but he directed 7 shots on net. And at least A, it means he has the puck. B, hold on. I was going to say, he definitely didn't get 7 shots on net, because the Jets only took 13 shots in the hockey game. So he directed 7 shots on net. But the fact of the matter is that he's going to the front of the net, and he's going to those areas where he can score. And he rips that shot off the crossbar. I thought for sure that was a goal, but it wasn't. And it didn't matter, because, of course, the Jets didn't need that. They did add a little more insurance. Nino Niederreiter, he gets his 6th goal of the season, his 2nd of the game, as Alex Iafallo and Dylan Sandberg. Dylan Sandberg has the 3rd assist for him.
Hat-trick.
He had no points coming into this game. Now he's got 3 assists. So I think that, like I said, it's not a function of you saying that you beat. The one thing I will say, aside from the game overall and the secondary scoring and that sort of thing, Eric Comrie gets his first win in the post-Connor Hellebuck injury era. So my 1-4 prediction was right, Ezzy. I just didn't know that it was going to be this game as opposed to something else. But so Eric Comrie gets the win, and we did see a little bit more, I thought, of what you and Drew and I were talking about, that idea of like the Jets coming in waves a little bit more. Again, not the way we're used to seeing, and certainly not what we saw against the New York Islanders or the Pittsburgh Penguins when they played them, but a little bit more. And again, second game of a back-to-back. Not that Nashville wasn't also experiencing that same thing, but I just thought it was a little bit better in that regard.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And we talked about like the first period was pretty low event. I thought we saw it a little bit more as the game went on, and specifically the second period where the Scheifele line would have, whether it was a shot attempt or, a little bit of offensive zone time. And then you saw the Taves line. I mentioned, didn't think Jonathan Taves had the best game, but I thought the line, like obviously Taves gets an assist on Perfetti's goal, but I thought as a line, they were doing a little bit more, a better job of spending some time in the offensive zone, making some plays in tight, like those in tight plays. But at the end of the day, the Jets find the way to win, and they find a way to not squander a 2-goal lead, a 3-goal lead, I should say. And but then it was a 2-goal lead, so that's what I meant. But and that's what they needed. They needed a win. And I mentioned this on this Saturday show. Now you got to go into Buffalo and you got to beat the Sabres on Monday, and then you got to go into Montreal on Wednesday, and you got to beat the Habs in order for, at least as far as I'm concerned, in order for this to be a successful road trip. We're not interested in moral victories anymore, right, Dave? We're not going to just be praising the Jets for putting out a good effort. Like they've got to put points on the board. And so, like we said, this was the first step, but you got to keep it going on Monday and Wednesday against Buffalo and Montreal.
Well, and especially because you still have some games in hand, and so you're right. You can ill afford to lose games like this. You need to put together a streak. You can the best way to erase the folks talking about the 4-game losing streak is by putting win after win on the board and not being middling and being like, okay, well now we're going to win. We're going to lose against Buffalo and beat it Montreal. You can't afford to do that. And like I said, this just as easily next Saturday morning, the whole discussion could be about the Jets going and winning 3-4 games in a row. So we're not going to put the wins ahead of anything. Right now, we've just talking about one win, right, against the Nashville Predators. That's what we've been doing. It's the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, Illegal Curve post-game show. My correction. The Illegal Curve Hockey Show was earlier. I'm Dave Manouk. He's Ezzy Ginsberg. We appreciate you guys spending your Saturday night, your Saturday morning, your Friday night with us here on this show, on our series of shows. Make sure you're subscribing to the channel. I think most of you do. But if you don't, when you're watching these broadcasts, it really doesn't hurt you, even if you're watching without an account, right, Ezzy, which you can do, but doesn't hurt. Sign up for an account. Make sure you're subscribing. Make sure you're smashing the like button. Phyllis is in the chat. I can see her all the way to Morden. So Phyllis is going to tell everybody to make sure you're smashing that like button. Otherwise, you'll disappoint Phyllis. You don't want to do that. So we'll go to break. We'll come back. Jets win 5-2. The joy is not quite there yet in Joyland, but it's getting back to being there in Joyland. We'll talk more. Manitoba Moose, they were in action. Not so much joy from the AHL Club of Manitoba. We'll talk about that and whatever else Ezzy and I digress to when we come back from these words from our sponsors.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre.
Boys, I've made an important life decision, and I need your support.
Oh, boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? Like, that's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth? Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door, and you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca.
Guys, big news. You know how I'm always misplacing my cool stuff? Well, Big Daddy has a new hobby, labeling.
Labeling is your new hobby.
You got it. Ever since I discovered Label Daddy's washable labels, I just can't stop labeling. I'm labeling water bottles, hockey sticks, cereal boxes, roast chickens, team jerseys. Everything deserves a label.
I can think of a label or two for you.
Best part is that Label Daddy is the only label company officially licensed by the NHL. So my labels are personalized and can have the Jets logo on them. Just search NHL on the Label Daddy website.
For almost 2 decades, Label Daddy has been helping people to not lose their stuff. It's the most affordable insurance policy around.
For customized, washable, peel and stick labels with no ironing or sewing required, visit labeldaddy.com and search NHL for the label pack belonging to your favorite team.
For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
Welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. I'm Dave Manouk, my main man, Ezzy Ginsburg, in the corner to my right, your left, my right, whatever it is, he's there. I'm here. We're here talking about, well, we talked about the Winnipeg Jets, Ezzy. They end their 4-game slide. They've now got a 1-game almost streak. They're about to go streaking if they can beat the Buffalo Sabres on Monday. They'll head into their Sunday in the United States of America with a little day off on Sunday. So they'll take the day off tomorrow, and then they'll be back on the ice Monday morning. For Mike McIntyre of the Winnipeg Free Press, the only traveling journalist, independent journalist, I should say, on the road. So he'll have all of that, and we'll, of course, have everything for you on a little site called illegalcurve.com, which is where you can find all the latest which happened to the Moose today. Thankfully, our intern, Zach Nolan, was there doing some video work for us. So we've got all the interviews.
You've been putting Zach to work. He's been in all the scrums. He's getting some great interviews with Moose players. Yeah, and like you mentioned, even though they didn't win tonight, they've obviously been playing some really good hockey. So shout out to Zach. You're doing an awesome job for IC.
There you go. As he's giving out shout outs. And I will say, and Drew's much better at the whole second screen thing than I am. So I'm not going to attempt to show folks. Just go to IC Dave. I've tweeted it, or I've blue skied it, or I've threaded it. I've put it out there. And for Frosty in the chat, this is not a full Manouk minute. Moose lose today, 4-1. First time they've lost in regulation to Chicago. But and it was a close game. It was a 1-1 game.
Hold on. You hear that?
Put on your antlers. It's time for the Manouk Moose Minute on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
Gotta hit your bumper, Dave.
I appreciate.
If I'm not hitting your bumper, what am I good for?
Well, that's fair. I didn't know if folks wanted it, but I'm always happy to do a little Moose talk, a little Moose tracks. And like I said, the Moose, it was like I said, good game against Chicago. They opened the scoring. Kale Clegg out of the penalty box. Really nice pass by Isaac Phillips, who's really settled in. Yes, last year he got traded from the Chicago organization to Manitoba, and he and Elias Salamonson actually had a really good partnership throughout the course of the year, and now he's been with Tyrell Bauer. But he hits Kale Clegg after a penalty. Clegg gets the initial goal. But the player I want to focus on today was Danny Zhilkin, the 2022 third rounder, because he was flying on the ice, and he had one end-to-end rush. Didn't end it with a goal, but it was a beauty play by Zhilkin. And unfortunately, again, Frosty might still be running around cheering if Zhilkin would have scored on that one. And then Zhilkin did something I don't think I've ever seen, Ezzy. He managed to hit the post, the crossbar, and then the other post before the puck kicked out and didn't end up in the back of the net. So he had a ton of chances. The Moose probably, and again, I wasn't there, but I want to say they hit five or six posts in tonight's game, or this afternoon's game. So they very easily could have been winners in the game. The Chicago scored in the third to take a 2-1 lead. Then they scored late with about 2.5 to go. Moose just didn't get a puck deep, got trapped in the neutral zone. Good pushback by Chicago, and they take a 3-1 lead, and then they added an empty netter. So it ends up being 4-1, but Danny Zhilkin definitely someone to watch. He's been impressive since the showcase in Montreal, but he's had a really good season. Again, I spoke to Mark Morrison about it, and Mark said that he is the head coach, of course, of the Moose, and he called Danny Zhilkin a number one center in the American Hockey League. And so that's a good sign for a young player to be held in that regard.
Because he's gone through some growing pains, right, Dave? Like, you'd agree, like, he didn't have the offensive year that he wanted to last year.
Yeah.
But this is what, you are really good at reminding everyone. He's 21 years old, right? Like, he's still a very young player. So, great to hear, Zhilkin getting, such nice compliments from Mark Morrison.
Yeah, for sure. And so, and again, like I said, the Moose don't win. They have a rematch tomorrow. We gave away a lot of tickets today. I think we gave away 6 tickets for today's game, none for tomorrow, but we'll have more tickets when the Moose are back. They have a rematch. They'll conclude 6 games at home against those Chicago Wolves. Ezzy, I'll be there. Will you be there?
Which game?
Tomorrow's game. Chicago Moose, 2:00.
I will not be there tomorrow, but I do plan on attending a Moose. I'll be at the Friday Jets Sabres game, but I will not be. I will not be at tomorrow's game. But I do plan on attending a Moose game in the month of December. That's for sure.
Okay, that's what I like to hear. I know that Drew would lose his mind if I started doing OHL, and to be honest with you, I can't because I haven't really been paying attention. But I will tell you, Kieran Walton, the 2024 6th-rounder, did score the OT game-winning goal for Sudbury tonight. So that much I know because I just very quickly looked. But I can't tell you what Jacob Cloutier did for Saginaw because I haven't had a chance to look. So I know that's going to leave you disappointed. But don't worry, folks. Make sure you go to illegalcurve.com tomorrow. Check the notes. The notes will have all the latest on what all the Jets prospects have done because we like to make sure that you are kept up to date. So before, as I thank our sponsors for everything they do for us, is there anything else any sort of Jets thoughts or any thoughts that you have? Maybe you want to talk about, I don't know, whatever you want to talk about.
Well, it was just really I'll end off with here, Dave, before we thank the sponsors, is it's just nice to see the boys pick up a win here because, we talked about, the 6-game West Coast trip. That was obviously a disaster. The Jets only winning 2 of those 6 games. And then obviously, these last 4 games, starting with the game against Washington on the road, in which we all agreed that, the Jets had a good shot at getting at least a point out of that game. The game against Carolina, Thomas Milic was a big part of that game, keeps it a tie game going into the 3rd period. But just nice to see the Jets finally getting that secondary scoring. I realize we've already talked about it a lot tonight, Dave, but, nice to see Nino Niederreiter scoring. Like, nice to see Cole Perfetti get the monkey off of the back. Nice to see Luke Shen. Luke Shen almost scored an empty net goal. He almost had a 3-point game tonight, Dave.
I know. Yeah,
so
true.
I mean, nice to see Schenner get a couple points. Nice to see Sandberg get a hat trick of assists. Just nice to see the joy back in Joyland. That's what we like to see. We prefer Jets wins here on the Illegal Curve post-game show as opposed to Jets losses. The Jets.
Well, there's more joy. There's more happiness. That's for sure, right?
So, yeah, all around, just good vibes for the Jets tonight as they leave Nashville eventually. And like we said earlier, hopefully the Jets are going to be able to keep this going against Buffalo and Montreal, and they're going to be able to come back to Winnipeg, on a 3-game heater as opposed to a losing streak. So, good stuff tonight for the Jets.
Absolutely. And, there were a lot of smart plays in the game, Ezzy, and we here at Illegal Curve have to thank our friends at Wheatland Hockey, Prairie Proud, Hockey Strong, building skills, character, and excellence on and off the ice, a fresh approach to youth hockey and development, proudly serving Winnipeg, Manitoba, and surrounding areas. Wheatland was created to meet those needs, offering developmentally focused inclusive programs that build hockey skills while fostering confidence, leadership, and resilience. So maybe we'll give a Nino Niederreiter his Wheatland hockey dues, because we know that he made a nice play, again, just firing it at the net and getting that goal. So kudos to Nino Niederreiter, and kudos to the fine folks at Wheatland Hockey for providing hockey knowledge to the youth of Manitoba. And a big thank you to all of the sponsors of Illegal Curve, including Wheatland, who make the postgame show, the Saturday show, and of course, that website, Ezzy, illegalcurve.com, a possibility. They are in no particular order. Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Play Now, Holt Dental, City Place, Wheatland, obviously, Boston Pizza, Label Daddy. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. Well, it's been a long day. We're even going to go into yesterday. So that's 3 Illegal Curve broadcasts. We are going to take Sunday off. And by we, I mean Ezzy, because I'm, of course, going to be at the Moose game. So I'm not exactly taking it entirely off, but we're not going to do a broadcast tomorrow, Ezzy. So we're taking a day off from doing broadcasts.
It's okay, Dave. We'll be back Monday, though.
I said we'll be back on Monday for the Sabres and the Jets. That'll be a great one. But we want to thank everyone for joining us. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you're subscribing to this channel. I'm Dave Manouk. He's Ezzy Ginsberg. This, of course, has been the Illegal Curve Postgame Show. Have a good rest of your Saturday night. We'll talk to you guys on Monday.